Buddy Junior 2000 here, coming at you with a retrospective review of the OG Wes Craven Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984. This movie it is definitely a masterpiece. It's a great film. I definitely would like to review the sequels because I have done a video where I reviewed all. I just talked about all each movies, but I wanted to do retrospective about the first movie, and I may do that with the other sequels one at a time, but just wanted to talk about the first movie. And I have this rare movie edition of it. Was it the Infinity Film New Line DVD edition, which this is out of print, but I got this at a Portland thrift store when I was in Portland, Oregon, visiting family for Christmas. I went to the thrift store that was in Portland, and wow, I found this one there, and fucking A. The DVD was in good quality. And of course, it's used, but it wasn't good quality. Like this shit's hard to find, and it's hell, and it's they sell it for a lot of money online. It's like it was there for like $1. It's like holy shit, that's a steal. Of course, this is the special edition DVD that New Line released back in 2006, but now it's out of print. But yeah, I do want a retrospective review about this movie. Same DVD cover that was on that box set of Freddy, but with a red font. A really cool advertisement about Freddy, Leatherface, and Jason's action figure sets that they would sell and advertise. If you get one figure, you'll get a free house. No wait, if you buy one of these houses, you get a free figure. That's pretty cool. Of course, I don't know that shit would be selling nowadays because that probably is out of print. Of course, you got advertisements of movies there, including a really cool cardboard cutout of Freddy Krueger. Like, your get your very own Freddy Krueger cardboard cutout. That's pretty cool. Of course, the back there's an advertisement for that shitty Butterfly Effect 2 sequel. So they only made three Butterfly Effects movies. I like the first one, but I've seen the second and third movie. Not really big on those. I like the Ashton Kutcher movie better. But yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street. This is an all-time masterpiece film. This is what this is one of the movies that made Wes Craven what he is, and rest in peace, Wes Craven. Great horror movie film director. Great directed a lot of great shit like Shocker, Scream, Vampire in Brooklyn. The even though I'm not big on the original Hill, but I'm not the rich. Sorry, I am not big. I'm not really big on the original Hills Have Eyes, but I do respect Wes Craven, and yeah, gotta mention that movie. He made The Hills Have Eyes, and that also made him a masterpiece director. Even his directorial debut movie, The Last House on the Left. And there's other good movies he made that are gems like Swamp Thing and New Nightmare. And I also think Scream 3 is underrated. Fuck what everybody says about, oh, it's a piece of shit. Now, fuck that shit. I only like the first three Scream movies. That was it. I don't mind part of Scream 4, but it's not the best, but it's still watchable than those last two shitty movies that I watch about those ones. Fuck Scream 5 and 6. But all in all, Wes Craven did a lot of pretty good movies. And he's also considered as master of horror. He's a master horror director, which I never understood why they didn't have him direct a segment movie on that master horror TV show. Because they got John Carpenter, Joe Dante, and who else? I think also Dario Argento. But why couldn't they get like Wes Craven? He's a master horror. That would have been really cool to see him in that show directing one episode. But Nightmare on Elm Street was released in 1984. it came out the same time that Silent Night Deadly Night got released into theaters, and it was actually behind Silent Night Deadly Night because Silent Night Deadly Night was actually winning the box office hit, and it was like being number one. But due to all the controversy bullshit, it got pulled off from theaters, so it was out of the box office, and this movie was behind it, so it went back as number. It went to number one, and this was a big number one hit. And thanks to this movie being a big hit movie, this saved New Line Cinema's ass, because New Line Cinema was a company that was part of this movie, and they thought, oh, this movie's not going to do nothing. We're going to be bankrupt. It was going to go to bankrupt, like how companies that went to bankrupt, like the Orion Film Pictures, Canon Film Pictures, and Dino De Laurentiis company. Like those picture companies went bankrupt. They were going to do the same thing with New Line Cinema. It was going to go to bankrupt, but thanks to this movie being a high praise, well box office hit movie, it saved New Line's ass. That's why it's always considered the house that Freddy built. That's why it's always said that to New Line Cinema, the house that Freddy's built. Thanks to this movie, New Line Cinema is still around to this day because you got pretty good movies from New Line Cinema. You got Menace to Society. You got the Friday films with Ice Cube. You got the House Party films. You got what else were New Line films? The Ninja Turtle movies, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. Those were a lot of fun to watch. I did like those live action movies. Surviving the Game. The yeah. Thanks to that's why New Line Cinema is always considered the house that Freddy built, because thanks to this movie being a big box office hit, it saved New Line's ass. Of course, this movie made a lot of money, and the series would make a lot of money, like with all the sequels too. Like it will make more than the first movie, but thanks to this one being a big hit, this movie saved New Line's ass. And of course, there was a lot of stuff that they were going to be dealing with. They were trying to get David Warner to play Freddy Krueger, and there was a concept art, and then there was like some art pictures. I think there was photograph that he was going to be in the makeup, which looks cool and looked like he was going to be really creepy and like not goofy and stuff. Like, not that it's ain't goofy, but he was going to be more demonic looking of Freddy Krueger, but he had to opt out because he was busy doing other movies. So it was like scheduling conflicts. So instead, the role went to Robert Englund, and the rest is history. And this movie made Robert Englund a star. Of course, Robert Englund was in a lot of other movies too. Before that, he was in Dead and Buried. He was in Eaten Alive, that Toby Hooper movie, Eaten Alive. My name is Buck, and I'm raring fuck. But yeah, Robert Englund made this role really well as Freddy Krueger. The other what's interesting, a trivia fact, Jackie or Haley was actually gonna consider he was auditioning to play what's it called? He was auditioning to play the Glenn character, but somebody I think it was his Wes Craven's daughter noticed Johnny Depp was with him because she was good friends with Johnny Depp at that time, and Johnny Depp wasn't really a big actor at that time yet. He didn't really start in movies that at all. So the Wes Craven's daughter kind of liked the look of him and thought he was a handsome looking guy, and like she considered her dad to put him in the role. And you know what, Johnny Depp, he wasn't there to like audition it, but they gave him an audition and he passed, and he played the role of Glenn, and this was Johnny Depp's acting debut, which was pretty fucking awesome. Johnny Depp would become a great actor after this, because this is not just only the debut. This is not just only the debut of New Line having their big hit movie, but also the acting debut of Johnny Depp. Captain Jack Sparrows. But all in all, but ironically, with that trivia fact, Jackie Haley would go on to star in the 2010 god awful Nightmare on Elm Street remake, which is a snooze fest. And I don't like that remake. It's just a boring, dull movie in my opinion. It's really boring. I thought Rooney Mara was terrible as Nancy, and I heard that she was just shitting on the original Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and she like shit on horror movies. Like, then what the fuck are you playing this role for, dipshit? Like, come on. And wanted her to quit acting, which I felt like she should have. But like, fuck her. She wanted to disrespect horror movies like that. Well, fuck her. She should have quit acting. And I never saw her in a movie that fucking approved me at all. Because I don't care about her grown dragon tattoo bullshit movie at all. Don't give a fuck about her other movies. She's a boring actress. She's wooden as fuck. She was an awful in Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Damn, that was a snooze fest remake. Jackie O'Haley, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't Robert Englund. It feels hard to replace Robert Englund. But they kind of like used all this shitty CGI makeup on him that looked like crap. It looked like cheese all over it. Didn't look like that good effects on him. But yeah, Jackie O'Haley would go on to play Freddy Krueger after he was auditioning for the role of Glenn. He would go on to play Freddy Krueger in the remake. So that was a bit of a trivia fact. And yeah, they use a lot of gallon blood in this movie, especially the sequence with Glenn's death scene. That was a lot of gallon blood that was used. But the movie starts up with New Line Cinema's logo flashing, and then you get this mysterious person that's like grunting and walking and grabbing a bag and throwing it on the table, emptying the stuff, and it turns out it's like all these blade knives, and then it's like all this dirty person's hand grabbing a dirty glove and cutting it, welding these knives to it, and then boom, it's Freddy Krueger's hand, and he goes, and then the music goes all creepy and screechy, like, and you get Freddy Krueger's yelling like, "Wah!" And then like his knife is stabbing through the sheets because he made this really scary glove. And then of course you get the iconic music that goes on like as the main Nightmare on Elm Street theme song. Do 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 do. Of course, you get this first final girl character named Tina who is like in the dream sequence, getting haunted, getting chased by Freddy. Freddy making all these weird noises, like these cheap animal goat noises, like scaring the shit out of Tina, making her run, and having creepy laughs throughout, scraping his finger glove knife, scratching through the sheet that he stabbed earlier in the movie, traces Tina, but sneaks behind her, like giving her a jump scare before she wakes up by her mom, and then her mom tells her to get ready for school, and then Tina grabs the crucifix to calm her down, and then she talks to her two friends, Glenn and Nancy, about what happened in her bad dream, and she also has a boyfriend named Rod, who's a jackass character, but pretty funny. And yeah, the characters, they're pretty well written. Like, it is well written by Wes Craven. He knows how to write characters really well. They're having a sleepover at Tina's house, and then Ron tackles Glenn, and he becomes a jackass. Like, maybe a funeral, dickhead. It's just a sleepover, Ron. When he's like sticking a pocket knife in front of Glenn's face. Of course, the night goes on and the nightmare begins when Tina explains about her nightmare with Nancy, and then she explains it more with her boyfriend Rod, and they go to sleep, and the nightmare begins, where you get Nancy sleeping in another room, and you have the iconic shot where he's like Freddy Krueger's coming out of the wall. But in the remake, it looks like shit. But the original movie looked pretty cool, where it's coming out through the wall and it's like stretching through. Very creepy. Of course, Tina is like in the dream, waking up, going outside to see what's going on. Trash can lid moves around when she's in the alley. Then she encounters Freddy Krueger with his big ass fucking arms, which is so. That's a creepy shot in the movies when he has the big ass arms. That is a really creepy shot, mixed with his eerie laugh. Of course, he taunts her with the glove and chases her with the creepy music playing in the background, attacking her in the dream and slashing her chest, ripping her shirt up, and just slashing her with the big old glove that he has. All blood smears all over the bed. She floats in the air, and if the because Rod gets up and notices, and he gets hit by Tina's floating body, and she's pinned through the wall, and she's like screaming out of her life as she's getting murdered by Freddy on the top of the wall, and Rod's like yelling at her, Tina, and she's yelling at him back too, like, Rod, help me. And then Rod yells, Tina. Then her body falls down and has like this weird. I thought it sounded like a fart noise. Where like with the way her body like splashes, like because there's like this big old blood splatter noise that just like makes like this big old noise. It kind of sounded like a fart a bit, but like it was like a really bloody part where all this blood come out and it just splashes on Rod's face, and her bloody body falls off the bed. And Rod gets out through the window. They going in. Nancy notices, and then they think Rod is involved in it. But the cops think that Rod isn't suspect of it, but they know that Rod didn't do this shit. They first think they just had a fight, but they don't know if he was involved in it. But they don't know about this shit about Freddy until Nancy has her nightmare in the school. But before that, she encounters Rod after she's going to school. Right before she goes to school, she encounters Rod, and he's telling her that I didn't fucking do anything. Don't make me think I'm a fucking creep or nothing. I'm warning you. Just back your ass away from her, son. Real nice and slow, like your ass depends on it. No. And of course, Nancy blocks her dad, who's holding the gun, trying to shoot Rod. But he's like, Jesus Christ. And Rod's like running the fuck out of there, all barefooted, like, fuck, getting the fuck out of there. But he gets cornered by the cops and he gets arrested. And he's like yelling, I didn't do nothing. I didn't tell her, Nancy. And of course, Nancy gets mad at her dad, saying, Dad, you used me. What the hell are you going to school for anyway? Nancy. Of course, she goes to school, and then was it the actress Lynn Shay? She plays she plays Nancy's teacher in this school sequence. You guys know who Lynn Shay is? She's like the main character that's in a lot of the Insidious movies. Of course, she was a little bit in the new shitty one that came out, but she's known to be in the Insidious movies franchise and a lot of movies like Detroit Rock City. There's something about Mary. Um, there was other movies that she was in, but she's a pretty good actress too. So she appeared in this movie as Nancy's teacher. Of course, Nancy has a nightmare where she sees Tina in a body bag, and then she's getting dragged by an invisible force. And of course, she encounters this person that's wearing this girl that's wearing Freddy's sweater, and then She tells her, "Where's your past? Screw your past." And then the person gets up all creepily, speaking in Robert England's voice. "Hey, Nancy, no running in the highway." And holding the glove. Like, that was just fucking creepy, too. That part was creepy. Totally creepy. Of course, Nancy is like following the blood where Tina's body was dragged and leads into the boiler room. And then she encounters Freddy for the first time and has a bit of a chase sequence by him. And Freddy's like about to kill her, but she wakes up by burning her arm on the steam pipe. And she wakes up all screaming in the class. She gets calmed down by the teacher, says that it's okay, you could go home. We'll call your mom. But she excuses herself, and that shit freaked out people in the class. But like, she gets out of there, and then she goes and visits Rod, finding out what's going on. Then he starts now he also knows about Freddy Krueger too, because he also dreams about him too, where he starts explaining to her, "I didn't do anything, but there was this person that she kept mentioning, but I also dreamt him about him too. He had these knives, these finger knives." And now she knows it was that he dreams about Freddy too. She's like, "Oh fuck," it freaks her out. But she knows that he didn't kill Tina. She goes home, takes a bath. She has the iconic bath scene where she gets attacked by Freddy Krueger, and then with the iconic glove coming out of the tub and shit. Pretty tense sequence. But she goes and talks to Glenn about it. Glenn thinks that she's kind of full of shit about it, but has the dream about getting out of the house and having Glenn stay and watch while see if she's screaming and acting wacko in her dream when she's asleep. Of course, Glenn is like an idiot. He falls asleep. But she goes to the police station and she sees Rod's asleep, and there's Freddy Krueger going through the door, and he's about to attack Rod, but he's gone because he's going to attack Nancy momentarily. But she sees Tina's dead body again, where she's less bloody and she's out little bit out of the body bag, and she has like bloody tears coming down and a big centipede coming out of her mouth, and all this slime all this slime of eels and slug and shit coming out of her and stuff, like on the bottom of her foot. It's like it's all forming around, which I have no idea what the fuck that is. I know Cinema Sins made a mention like, is that supposed to be Rod and Tina's unborn child foaming down? I'm not sure if he's just fucking around, just making a joke about it, but maybe that might be an interesting thing that, oh, it's might be their unborn child coming out in the nightmare dream sequence. But I don't know, but that part was creepy and really disturbing. Of course, Nancy's getting chased by Freddy Krueger, and she's getting stopped by the steps where there's like foaming cement and all that shit stopping her. But she has a bit of a scuffle with Freddy, but she wakes up, and Glenn's an idiot. He fell asleep too. But of course, they try to save Rod, but Rod gets strangled by Freddy Krueger and the invisible force. But they think that he took his own life, but it was Freddy tying the noose around his neck and climbing it up to the pipe to hang him. But no, it's Freddy that took his life. It was a pretty tense scene. Of course, he has his funerals, and then she starts confessing it to her mom and her dad. It was Freddy Krueger, and then they think she needs help, and then she has creepy freak out at a clinic institution, and she starts growing hair after she wakes up from a dream sequence. She has part of her hair is all gray, and then she has a cut wound from Freddy's glove, and she drags his hat out to the real world. One leads to another. She has an argument with her mom, and then she finds a book, learning about booby traps and all that shit. The houses are all locked up by her mom's security paranoia, and she explains who Freddy Krueger is. He was a child murderer that killed a lot. He killed 20 kids in his boiler room, but he got away with it, and all the families took justice in their own hands, and they followed him at the boiler room and killed him and burned it up. Because in the original script, they were gonna say that he was a child molester, but they cut that shit out, which I thought that was the best choice they did. But they fucked that up in the remake, and instead of like, is he guilty or not? Like, what if the parents were just framing him? No, they didn't do that shit. They didn't go to that route. They went to the shitty route where they were gonna originally go with this in the original film, but they changed it, which they just made it obviously like, oh, he's a pedophile. Nah, fucking stupid remake. I hate when they did that in the remake. But on and on, and she gets explained about the story about Freddy Krueger. She's about to go visit Glenn to see her and him get stop Freddy. She has the phone sequence where she gets taunted by Freddy, and even the phone turns into his mouth, licking his tongue out of her to her lip. And she smashes the phone, and it freaks the shit out of her. Tries to get out, but her mom locks the door, and Glenn is an idiot. He falls asleep the second time, and he gets the iconic best sequence where was it that part, that little picture that's right there, where Glenn is like asleep and he gets his stomach grabbed by Freddy Krueger's claw glove and pulled into the middle center of the bed in this big giant hole where all his equipment and him and the big TV that he had fell in the hole, taking him into this pit of hell, which is Freddy's hell, and this big gallon of geyser blood comes out, thousands of blood flowing up. Really well shot sequence. Definitely a bloody scene. Of course, they were going to originally show where Glenn's body was going to float up out of the hole, and then his body falls on the bed where he's all covered in blood. But I think it was already disturbing when you saw all this bunch of gallons of blood falling out. Like, that was more disturbing, in my opinion, of the scene that we got. One leads another. Nancy sees this. She sets her traps up and she's prepared. She's ready. She's down. She goes to the basement, which goes to his boiler room, because the dream sequence takes you to his boiler room all the time. While she's going down there, you hear like a faint of Glenn screaming from his death sequence. Even Tina screaming is heard in the background from her death sequence. You can hear all that echoing in the back. Of course, Nancy and Freddy have a bit of a fight and chase sequence where her timer goes up and she brings him into the real world, and she has all the traps prepared, kicking Freddy's ass and all that stuff, putting explosions and sledgehammers to fuck him up. Of course, they chase him into the basement where she burns him and lights him on fire and gets out of there, calling her dad to come over because he's in the crime scene. What happened to Glenn at his house? Then breaks in and finds all the fire, but sees that Freddy Krueger's upstairs. He's on fire, attacking Nancy's mom, and she knocks Freddy down. And was it Nancy's dad stops the fire, covering them, and Freddy disappears, but her skeleton is shown, and she floats to the bed and she disappears. So her mom dies in the movie. And of course, when her dad leaves, after she talked to him about, do you believe me now? And he says yes. Because they have a bit of a talk, and then she's by herself in the room. The door closed by itself. Freddy comes out of the sheet, breaks out, and has his last moment to talk to her. And then she says, "You're shit." And then he's about to stab her, but he disappears flashing into her body, like disappearing in power, deform, like disappearing form, like something out of Star Trek. And then she comes out, and randomly her mom is there, even though she's dead. We don't know if she's dead or not, but of course it's turned out she is dead in the when we get to the third movie. But the sequence goes on where they have it's a bright sunny day, it's a good day, and then one leads to another. There's Tina, Rod, and Glenn riding in Glenn's car, and they're picking up Nancy and stuff. Of course, the hood and the windows start closing, and it's malfunctioning. Like, they don't know what the hell's going on. Nancy's yelling at her mom, like, "Mother, no, mother." And the mom is like randomly waving at them, all smiling, not freaked out. Of course, they drive away. You get the jump rope girl saying 1 through 3, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, not your door. And of course, you get the awful sequence where Nancy's mom is getting grabbed by Freddy Krueger's arm that breaks through the glass door window. And of course, she gets grabbed, and it's like this big old fake looking doll that gets easily squeezed in. It is I would say that's probably a con with the movie. That's probably a con that I have with the movie. That part does look really that does look like shit to me. It is a laughable scene because I don't really have a con with the movie, except like that part was probably the con. Like, that part doesn't hold up in my opinion. That part does look really shitty in my opinion, and a bit laughable. But all in all, the movie ends there, and yeah, you don't know if Freddy's still out there or not. But we get those sequels, and those sequels made a lot of money, and I got to see part 2, and that's a badass sequel. I would say that's my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie in the series. I think that movie's criminally underrated. Up there with Cedar Chuck. Oh no, fuck Cedar Chuck. I mean, I meant to say fuck Cold 2. Child's Play 3. That's a criminally underrated sequel. Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is up there as a criminally underrated sequel. Same with Exorcist 3. But yeah, that's my retrospective review, folks, of the original Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984, written and directed by Wes Craven, the master of horror, who knows how to direct great stuff and great shit. And yeah, this 2-disc special edition I did check out. There are some special features and specs about it. A good documentary about this movie too. It's pretty good. Of course, there's alternate endings where it's the happy ending, the Freddy ending where you see a sequence of him like driving the car instead of Glenn. Those alternate endings, even though like I think one of the endings like doesn't have like that awful part where Nancy's mom is getting dragged through the door window, and that doll sequence is like shown like really bad. It doesn't. It has like Barbie doll that's getting dragged in there easily. Like, it's a bad part, but even though they don't have it in some of these alternate endings, I kind of prefer the way this movie ended. Like, but it was cool to see these alternate endings, and then the special feature that was in this one. Like, pretty good in-depth special features about it. But all in all, I definitely enjoyed this masterpiece. Out of 5, I give it a 5 out of 5. This is a masterpiece. This is a horror movie classic. Up there with Halloween, The Exorcist, Friday 13, and also the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This movie is a classic. Definitely a great Wes Craven film, up there with Wes Craven's Shocker. The People on the Stairs. Ah, man, that's the one I forgot to mention. The People on the Stairs is my all-time favorite Wes Craven film. Up there with Shocker, People on the Stairs, Scream 3, Vampire in Brooklyn, Swamp Thing, Hills Have Eyes, The Last House on the Left. All the good shit that Wes Craven made. Highly recommend this movie if anybody have never seen this one. Because maybe there might be people that have not seen it. Who knows? I'm shocked that there's times that people would make of sentences like, "Oh, I never saw this movie." But anybody who has not seen it, definitely check it out. But anybody has seen it and enjoys this masterpiece, leave in the comments what you love about this movie and what's your favorite scene in the movie. But I thought the actors were good. John Saxon was a lot of fun in the movie. Johnny Depp was great in his first movie role. Harry Langenkamp was pretty good as Nancy. She was pretty good final girl. Um, Ronnie Blanky, she played pretty good as the mom. Nancy's mom, she's pretty good in it. The guy who plays Rod, I think Zeus Garcia, but I think his real name is Corey Garcia. He's pretty good as Rod. Oh, gosh, I forgot the actress that played the character Tina, but she was pretty good too. They kind of went like a psycho trope where you thought she was gonna be the final girl, but she wasn't. She got killed in the first half of the movie, and it turns out Nancy was the final girl. But yeah, she's pretty good too. I enjoyed the actress that played Tina. She was pretty good in her performance, and I also liked yeah, Robert Englund. What more can you say? Robert Englund did a badass performance as Freddy fucking Krueger. He's great. This movie is an all-time classic. Definitely a great film. And of course, it's having its anniversary this year, so who knows? This motherfucker might have a 4K this year with its anniversary. Who knows? It might be Warner Brothers, it might be Shit Factory, it might be Arrow Video. I'm not sure. It might be Vinegar. Maybe, I'm not fucking know, because I'm surprised with a lot of stuff that comes out nowadays. But we'll see with this one getting a special edition 4K this year. But yeah, all the cast were great in their performance. Also, got to mention there was was it the character, the Garcia cop? He's played by Joe Unger, and you guys know who Joe Unger is. He was Tinker Sawyer in Chainsaw Massacre 3. He was the one with the hook. He's the smart technology guy that likes technology. He's the Sawyer family that likes technology, and he has the big hook. So yeah, he's the character that plays the Officer Garcia in this movie. So that was pretty cool that he would be in this movie and he would go on to be in a Chainsaw Massacre sequel. That's underrated. That's a sequel that's underrated. Chainsaw Massacre 3. But yeah, that's my retrospective review of the original Nightmare on Elm Street, folks. Yeah, this movie is a masterpiece. Leave your thoughts in the comments what you thought about this masterpiece. Have a good day, everybody. Hit the like, subscribe, and take care, folks. Bye bye.